All right, guys. I was thinking about this the other day. The best way to describe our next guest to finish off the year, and he's an icon, he's a legend, he's a former champion. But I really think another thing about this man is that when you think of MMA, when you think of some of your favorites of all time, you just can't help but think of this man as well. He's an absolute classic. And I'm not just talking about in the ring, I'm talking about out of the ring, just pure class all the way around. Some of the best stories and craziest moments in the sport. And we're very honored to have him as our final guest of the show. El Guapo, Bas Rutten, thank you so much for joining us on Submission Radio, man.
You're very welcome, guys. I love it. We've been doing this for quite some years now together, so it's nice.
You know what? We're coming up on 10 years. Can you believe that? 10 years we've been chatting. How insane is that?
Freaking insane, man. But it's a good sign. You guys are still around, so that means you do something good, right?
I guess so. That's definitely one way to take it.
Hanging on by a thread, but we're still
we do our tradition of sort of wrapping up the year together. Dude, I gotta say, man, fantastic seeing you and GSP at the fights the other weekend at UFC 296, but also another phenomenal job by you guys at Karate Combat this past weekend. Just quickly, man, some of your favorite parts, some of your favorite moments from that one.
Just to have everybody there in the freaking audience, it was crazy who we had. I mean, you name it, was there. All the UFC guys were there. The women's fight was insane. I wish that would have kept going because there was a lot of blood, and these ladies, they're violent. And she wanted to continue, but the referee stopped the fight. I think there was a miscommunication because she's from Venezuela. Maybe she didn't speak the language. So if he said, "Oh, you think you cannot fight?" something like that, like a kind of a trigger, she said, No, I'm okay. And then he stopped it suddenly. She goes, "Look, I can see everything was okay." But all the fights, I think it was great. It was a fun show. The audience was exciting. So, and then the next day, of course, we had the UFC, which was not a great main event. Was a little less, right? There was not a lot of punches being thrown. But, that happens when people don't attack, I guess. Nobody wanted to pull the trigger.
We'll get into that in a second, but I remember it wasn't that long ago that Luke Rockhold was teasing that he'd love to try out Karate Combat. The BKFC thing wasn't really his thing. He said, it'd be nice to have some gloves, man. Do you see Luke Rockhold ever coming over to Karate Combat? Maybe even like rematching Lota Machida or something?
That would, they already been talking about it. Indeed, that would be something to watch that fight. I don't know. We're going to have to see because right now with the new president, Asim, he's doing a good job. I think we saw that at this show, right? How many influencers and everybody was there, So he pulled some strings, and I think it's good because now everybody saw it, and every person who was there, even Volkanovski. Everybody was like, man, this is a really freaking great show. So you see, so now guys like that start talking about Karate Combat. That's going to be really good for us.
Just going back to you, Chuck, and GSP there at UFC 296. It's kind of crazy because seeing you guys there, you guys were and still are the faces of MMA. But I don't know, when I was watching the broadcast, it kind of blew my mind a little. All right, here we are, here are these guys that we all used to watch and love, and now there's this other generation of fighters. Is it kind of weird for you, when you sit there with these guys and you're like, oh, wow, look at everything what we've accomplished, and now look, there's a completely new generation now that we're watching. Things have really kind of moved on, and now there's these guys, and it wasn't that long ago that we were kind of in there, and we had some other guys watching us on the side.
Yeah, that's life, right? That's how life goes. I'm just happy that people still recognize me. That it's not like with that guy over there. So that's nice. And I they always tell me, they always ask me, said, wouldn't you wish that you were born now? With all the money they make. I go, no. I had a perfect career, man. I'm very happy with my career. I'm very happy the way it ended. Thankfully, I got injuries because I would have been that knucklehead who kept on fighting. Now I didn't lose in my last 22. So that's a great way to stop fighting. And I know that if I wasn't injured, I would have kept on fighting. And eventually you're going to lose against these young bucks, So because they're all animals. They started when they're 6 or 8 years old. Once they're 20, they're freaking maniacs. So, I'm very happy to be part of the group that started it, so to say, going all the way back. And everybody's asking me, was it anything like it? I go, dude, we had our weigh-in in a hotel room. It was legal in 3 states. It was completely different. There were no weight classes. They actually started making weight classes when I came to the UFC. That was for the first time for the heavyweight title. That was when they made the light. I know they called it middleweight, I believe. 200 pounds and under was middleweight, and 200 pounds and over was heavyweight. So to be a part of that, that's a group that will never grow. Like champions keep coming and going, and it's great, and I love it, and it's all good. But we are the guys. If you go back in history over 1,000 years, they're going to go back. They say, hey, that group there, that started it, and I'm part of that group. That's kind of cool.
That's right, man. And you're not even talking about some of the crazy Japanese stories. And the other crazy thing was people just didn't know what it was. Like an exciting time, and everyone would bring in a different skill. So people didn't quite know what was going to happen and what was going to happen in those octagons or rings, especially when it came to like, did someone learn a new submission? Is someone going to use a new technique on the feet? So it was a really crazy time. By the way, it's interesting that you say that, because the guy that you were commentating with, the Karate Combat, GSP, he basically confirmed he's not coming back at UFC 300. Got to find out, like, what did you make of that? And him explaining that no amount of money is really worth potentially tarnishing his legacy over.
I think it's smart. I already thought it was weird that he came back for the light heavyweight championship against Michael.
Middleweight.
Well, middleweight, of course. Yeah, it was the lower. Yeah, I think it's smarter in the long run. Like a lot of people, they offer money, but money is not everything, and everybody's always focusing on the money. I know Japanese fighters who fought in Japan, and they were set up, to fight a guy like Sakuraba, and then you get the number 150 in the world who's going to face Sakuraba, and they all take it because they see the big money, but they don't realize that once you lose badly, it's going to be very hard for you to find fights after that. And that's like with products. I never was part of a bad product that I endorsed, and I missed out of a lot of money because there was a mouthpiece. There was one company with a mouthpiece that had a new idea with a hole in between, and they offered great money, but I go like, nah, it's not a good product. Because I think once you do something like that, once you endorse a bad product, from that moment on, afterwards, all products are going to be bad, right? That's what people might think. So I think you have to stick with that. And now with this career, one more fight, what is that going to do? What he's got enough money. I don't think he has a problem. He's traveling all freaking day long. I mean, he's everywhere. Everybody loves him. He's great on camera. He's very respectful. He's got everything. So why would he take that risk? And he's a smart man for not doing it.
What do you think is sort of like the key to a good MMA exit for fighters? Because, people talk about how, like, there's nothing that compares to like the rush and the adrenaline and just the feeling of going out there, getting a win, being in front of the crowd. And MMA retirement, it's almost like pro wrestling, where like it's almost a joke, right? Like you don't take it seriously. When someone says they're retiring, you're like, all right, we might see you back soon. And nowadays, there's a lot of options like the BKFC, like the Karate Combat. It's like you don't have to retire from combat sports entirely. But then you do see certain fighters where it's like, as fans, you wish that they would retire a bit earlier because, they start to tarnish their legacy and the end of their career starts overshadowing all the great things they did. But it's a tricky thing, man. Like, I get it. When you've been doing something almost your entire life and then one day you got to be like, I'm done. It must be so hard finding sort of fulfillment in your life and figuring out, well, what do I do for the next however many decades? What do you think is the key to like a good MMA exit?
A good MMA exit is making sure that you already know what you're going to do afterwards. I think you have to focus on that, and not too much focus. But like, for instance, I was taking acting classes in '97 when I came to America. Within 3 months, I was taking acting classes because eventually I knew that I was something that I would like to do. And I figured, it's better to be ready because once it does happen, and you never know, if you get an injury, it might happen faster. And if you don't have a backup plan, that's a problem. You also need to find something that gives you that same kind of feeling, and that I didn't have. And because of that, you fall into different things like drug problems and drinking. That was my thing also, because you try to replace that feeling, but you can't pretty much. And then most of the time, alcohol and drugs are going to be the closest to it because it makes you feel good, and that's what you do. So I think you really have to watch out. Like, for instance, Pat Miletich, he was a very smart man. He started chasing tornadoes. and that's what he's doing now in order to get that same adrenaline high, but that's a much safer way than being crazy Bas Rutten going out and partying all day long. It was a dumb move, but we're getting older, and you realize, thankfully I realized it, and I stopped doing it. But yeah, having a backup plan, man, it's always been with me already. Like I said, I'm a chef. Something, God forbid, would happen, I would break my leg, because that might happen as well in your first year already, and it's a compound fracture, and you never fight again. Now what? And if you don't have a backup plan, that's going to be a problem. You're going to be a bouncer. It's going to be something in security, probably, because those are your skills. And security is, most of the time there's a downside to it, a very dangerous downside. And then you stay up late, and this whole thing starts again. So yeah, having a backup plan already in order before you going to stop, I think is a very smart thing to do.
Yeah, it's crazy. Security isn't. These days, security is very different as well. Lots of liability. And hey, I was gonna say, with the partying stuff, I know you've mentioned to us a few times about it. Do you remember what was the turning point for you? Like, what was the party or the situation that made you say, "All right, that's enough of this now"?
I don't know. I had a friend of mine who was also is a really good actor. He's actually nominated now for an Oscar. It's going to be. He's in that new The Iron Claw. He plays the father, Holt McCallany, and he.
Yeah. That guy's great.
Oh no, he's freaking awesome, and he's an unbelievable actor. And we did a TV show together, where I was a stunt choreographer for him and all that stuff. And we would just go party like crazy. But he would never mess up any lines. It was amazing. He would go on 7 o'clock in the morning, never missed a beat, always be on time. And I go like, man, why isn't he getting more and more and bigger jobs? And then suddenly when I decided, hey, you know what, I'm gonna stop this thing, because you are a liability. And then him and I started talking, and he goes, you know what, I'm gonna do that as well. And as soon as he stopped with that, offers started coming in. And what people don't realize is that, yes, you never mess up, but they do know that you're doing it. And with that, they also know that if you drive your car the day before and it's under influence, you got a DUI, now the movie's not going to be, you're going to be a liability. So just realizing it's so stupid what you're doing, But once I also realized that I thought I was in control by doing whatever I wanted. But what I didn't realize is that I was not in control at all. I was addicted. You think, I can drink whatever I want. I can do this whatever I want. I can use drugs whatever I want. I'm free. You're not free. You're locked in, because those are vices now. Now you're addicted to that stuff. You can't say no to it. It doesn't even have to have a voice. If there's a beer, you're going to have to drink the beer. And I thought, wow, that's kind of weak. If you're a man like that who can't say no to a beer or to some drugs or whatever,
And you must get a lot of free beer, and you must get a lot of like free drugs, and also like people are recognizing you when you're out, and that must kind of compound it, right? Because, I imagine it must be a little bit harder to say no in those situations.
It is. It's, and once you realize, we all want to be a man, right? And we think a man is a guy who can do whatever he wants, but it's not. The man is the guy who has everything under control. Who's not influenced by all these vices that are out there, not by social media, all this scrolling and all these things that lock up your time and you can't say no to. The real freedom is the person who doesn't have any attachments. And once I realized that I was not a real man, and also realized, I'm never angry when I'm drinking, but, dancing at home with the kids and music, and it's not being a father, it's not being a husband, not being a man, you're stupid, so. Once I got that, I go, I don't want to be stupid anymore. Let's become a real man. Let's see if I can get control on all the things in my life.
Fascinating, man. Yeah, it's definitely a fascinating way to kind of like snap yourself out of it. And when you're in the middle of it, it's very hard to see it happening. Sometimes like a habit kind of sneaks up on you, and it's only, later on once you get out of it that you kind of look back and you're like, oh yeah, shit, this is how, bad it was. Or this is the effect it was having.
My last fight I took because I was an alcoholic. And my wife says, what are you doing? Why do you take the fight? I said, I'm going to be forced to stop drinking. There's no way I can drink.
Right.
And that's why I took that fight. Sure, the money was okay, but the main reason for me was to stop drinking. And I knew that was going to do it for me.
That's crazy,
And was it hard to actually get off? Like, were you at a point there where you were drinking all the time and you just had to go clean?
No, I was never that crazy. But what the thing is with alcohol, they always talk about the gateway is weed. It's not. Alcohol is the gateway drug. Alcohol makes you believe that it's okay to do cocaine. Other things. Because without it, you would never do it. You see, so I always thought if I can stop alcohol, then automatically everything else will stop as well. And I was right.
Yeah, that's it. Oh, yeah, you're right about drinking, man. For one beer, for 1 second you're having one beer, then next thing you know, you're in some random person's house at 7 a.m. talking about some crazy scheme or plan that you're gonna. We should do this business, man. It's gonna be awesome. But yeah, no, that's sick. And that was a good fight, man. You against Warpath, you beat the shit out of his legs, man. What a crazy way to go out.
Yeah.
I wanted to go back to this because you mentioned this at the very start, the main event. You guys were there at UFC 296, Colby Covington versus Leon Edwards. Didn't play out how most people expected. What did you think watching that in real time?
Yeah, well, it's understandable on one side, but it's like if you're Colby and I'm going to do this, then why not live up to your words and pull the trigger and start really fighting? Otherwise, why would we be in the whole promotion deal if nothing happens? So that was the only thing for me, but I understand fights like that. I mean, thankfully for me, I don't think I've ever been in one that was a stalemate, because I always try to finish. But I can understand it, if there's a lot of respect between the both of them. We don't know what's going on. It's the same with Strickland and when he fought Adesanya, so why wouldn't he pull the trigger? Well, in the first round, he got hit really freaking hard and he felt the power, Now there's a little bit of respect. You go, wait a minute, if that lands again, flush, that could be trouble. So there's a lot going on about things that we don't know, but fighters at that particular moment feel. And the punch is not... Sometimes people get hit. Like the shoulder. You remember the shoulder punch with Poirier, I believe it was. Oh no,
McGregor and Cerrone.
Cerrone.
Yeah.
And there's the shoulder punch. You don't know. I mean, a punch like this already can get me. If it takes me at the right moment where I didn't expect it, it can already daze me. And people have no clue. You only have a clue when you start sparring and you start doing a real good fighters. You realize, wait a minute, he might be hurt. He can kick wrong, and now the ankle is hurt. He can show it to everybody. You go, why is he not kicking anymore? Yeah, because he's freaking acting right now as if there is no pain. But in real life, there's a lot of pain going on. So you never know what really goes on with the fighter. So I can understand it. But, after all the crap talk and the screaming and the throwing things at each other, you're kind of hoping that it's going to be a brawl. And unfortunately, we set the standards really high because of all that. And then it's not as good.
Well, yeah, like you mentioned the promotion, obviously you're not going to promote that hard if in the back of your mind that something like that's going to happen. So do you think Colby himself was surprised when he was in there? And how much do you think anything has to do with age? Do you think anything has to do with like the layoff? Like what do you think that performance was attributed to? Do you think it was all just Leon being that good and shutting things down? We saw glimpses of it in the fifth round where Colby started putting on the pressure, but what do you attribute that to?
I don't know, man. It's a hard question. I always said this. I would never do the crap talking because you put a lot of pressure on yourself. And as soon as you come up before the fight, what do they play? They play you saying all these things that you're going to do with your opponent. Now you better do it. And that might put a lot of pressure on you. And I understand he wants to hype the fight and everything is going well. And it's good for that. But then you need to be backing it up as well. Because otherwise why would you do it? So he might have put too much pressure on himself, maybe by talking like that. So that's why I always personally, I was just talking to somebody else. I would never look at somebody's eyes with a stare down. I will always look down because I'm a hothead. And if he tries to do something funny, ooh, now I really want to hurt you, But if I really want to hurt you, that's when I start telegraphing, right? That's when you start loading up punches. Instead of punching from here, you start loading up now because you're angry. Once emotions get involved in fighting, you want to stay far away from that. I always tell my students, if there's a fight that I really messed up, and there was a fight when I was angry, that was my last fight in Pancras. This is where they kind of set me up because they said I was going to face Randy Couture in October. And then in September, they wanted me to fight in Japan one more time. And I go, dude, I got freaking Randy Couture coming up. That was set at that moment. It was, of course, it didn't happen later on. But officially, I was going to fight there. And they said, yeah, but we really need you because they were getting less people in the place. And I said, okay, you guys did a lot for me, but then this is the first time I'm going to ask. I said, don't give me a freaking killer because I want to save my hands. I don't want to hurt him because I got another killer coming up in Randy. They said, okay, we'll give you somebody who's done new. I go, okay, I'll do it for you. So my game plan was to take him down and just go for submissions because I didn't even want to hit him since my hands were, I wanted to spare my hands for the potential Randy Couture fight. And then the day before the fight, I'm walking with Guy Metzger on the street, and they say, hey, Bas, they trained this guy for a year and a half for you, right? And I go, excuse me? He says, yeah. What happened was he came in to train with Funaki before you fought Funaki for the title even. And then Funaki lost that fight. And then he wanted revenge. He started, and Funaki started training this guy personally to fight me. Then they call me and say, hey, this is a complete new guy, but they were already training him for a year and a half to fight me. And I found that out on the day of the fight, the day before the fight.
Who told you? How'd you find out this?
Guy Metzger.
Oh, wow.
And actually, there's a comic, and I put that in one of my videos. There's a comic that I have, a Japanese comic, in where you see him coming into the gym. He gets beaten up by Funaki. Then he goes to the fight where Funaki's fighting me. Funaki gets beat up. They show that fight of me and Funaki. And then you see him vowing that he wants to train. He wants to fight me. They start training him. They made a comic out of it.
Wow.
I mean... And I found it out the day before the fight. So I was livid. I was like, oh, I'm going to kill this guy now. And I already told my hands, I said, I'm sorry, even if you're going to break, but this is not going to fly. And but if you see the fight, I'm freaking hitting. It's not don't be nice and calm mode. No. And I knock him out, of course, but that could have gone wrong with me, because I was just way too wild, way too emotional. And that's the fight I always tell people to watch. I said, that happens when you're fighting emotionally. Yeah, but you still won. I said, but look at the technique. It was horrible. It was a horrible fight.
Just quickly, for anyone who wants to watch it, which fight was this? Who was the guy? Was this Kengo Watanabe? It was
Kengo Watanabe.
Yeah,
Kengo Watanabe. Yeah. Just gonna look it up.
Kengo, you sly dog.
Yeah, you should have whispered to him. Should have said it's going to take a lot more than a year and a half, buddy, as he's lying there.
If I would have known that a week before, I might have even been okay with it since he never fought before. He was a professional rugby player, but he's an athlete. But at least he didn't fight before. And if I would have known, then at least I would have known. I would have said yes to it. But to tell me that it's completely new and and then to find out they're specifically trained for me, that made me very angry.
I was going to say, man, that just sounds like some crazy plot out of a Japanese Netflix show that needs to be made in 2024. And we're about to look forward to 2020.
Just quickly, before we get to that, you mentioned plot. The plot for a better you, the best version of yourself, is no secret at all. There's no spoilers. Just our good friends at Manscaped featuring the Lawnmower 5.0, the 5th generation of the best ball shaving technology in the world. Don't use a rusty razor on your boys downstairs and carve yourself up like a Christmas turkey. Get on Manscaped Lawnmower 5.0, the best in grooming technology below the belt. And the 5th generation comes with 2 next generation blade heads, a standard trimmer blade for taking a little bit off the top, maybe shaving funky patterns up there if you desire, and then a new foil blade to go ultra smooth wherever your heart desires. Think of the smoothest face shave you've ever had. You can have that for your boys downstairs. The best sack since Santa came down your chimney. And also, if you get the Performance Package 5.0, you get the lawnmower itself, the Weed Whacker 2.0 nose and ear hammer trimmer, featuring the proprietary advanced skin-safe technology to protect your delicate presence from nicks, cuts, or anything in between. You've also the Crop Soother Aftershave Lotion and Crop Preserver Anti-Ball Chafe Deodorant. And then you've also got the free gifts, the Manscaped Boxers Premium 2.0 underwear and the Shed 2.0 toiletry bag, getting you covered this year for Christmas or even in the new year. New year, new you, new phenomenal balls. Isn't that right, Dennis?
That's right, man. Perfect for traveling too. This thing is a real lifesaver. It's going to really make the year pop for you. Get it at Manscaped right now. Use code word submission for 20% off and free shipping today and help out the show as well.
Yeah, man. And then lastly, as we wrap up the year, are you ready to put your cricket quiz knowledge to the test this summer and win some free stuff? If you are, head over to the Fanzo app. Fanzo, of course, the #1 venue finder in the world. If you want to watch any event, whether it's UFC, sports, anything, you jump on the Fanzo app, completely free, open it up, and it'll show all the best pubs, venues in your area, showing you how many screens they have, commentary, beer garden, Wi-Fi, all sorts of stuff, helping you get sorted with your friends. But also, you can jump on the Fanzo app and answer 10 cricket questions against the clock for a chance to win a $50 digital Visa card to spend at your local each week of the cricket test summer. How good is that, Dennis?
Dude, it's the best. I was in a tricky pickle on the weekend, wanted to watch UFC 296, couldn't find a pub where I was, and I was like, wait a minute, the Fanzo app found a beautiful pub near my house, the Phoenix Hotel, that sorted us out. Make sure to jump on Fanzo today. It's the ultimate venue finder. Do this quiz, get some extras for this holiday season. Click the link in the description below and get into it now. But Bas, quickly, I know you were at UFC 296. What did you make of the brawl between Sean Strickland and Dricus Du Plessis? And by the way, what about Sean Strickland with the politeness? Gilbert Burns' family made sure they were out of Dodge first, and then he went in.
He's some crazy guy, man. Listen, I was young, and I've been doing stupid things as well. That I wouldn't do. I think it was a little bit too much, and especially even with the kid being there, a lot of things can go wrong, right? I mean, you can simply trip backwards because this kid was still within 3 yards away from 3 feet away from him. He's just moved to the side. I don't think it's necessary, but again, they're at the peak of their career. The testosterone is flying, listen, if there's somebody who will never judge anybody, is this guy right here, because all the mistakes that they make, I probably did times 10, right? So I will never judge him on that, but I just go for the sport. It's not necessary, you can just talk to each other at press conferences and do it like that, but to get in a physical altercation, I don't think it's a good thing for the sport.
How close were you? Because I know sometimes like the fighters and the VIPs and the celebrities, they have like sort of two areas. Were you in that same area? Were you next to them when that happened?
Yeah. I was there. I was 20 feet away. It was right there. Suddenly I saw everybody freaking diving on it. And I go, oh, here we go again. He's a funny guy. He's a special guy, but he's got to keep control over the emotions, Sean is.
I wonder, because Dricus, I want to look at next year, and I guess this is a good way to start it. What do you think? How do you think that fight goes? But also, do you think for Dricus this is a good sign? I know he kind of wanted to get under Sean's skin a little bit. So if you're Dricus right now, do you think he's kind of going, all right, I'm kind of getting a few reads here. I'm learning about how I can get under this guy's skin leading into the fight. And do you think that might make a difference come fight night?
It makes every difference. Now, there are some exceptions, right? There's always an exception to the rule, I tell people. Like, you see these fighters who need to get hit in the face and they need anger and all that stuff. I'm the opposite. I need to be completely relaxed because then I perform the best. But some people need it a little bit. So a guy like Sean Strickland, and we already saw that, he's an animal. And I don't think he needs it, but what it can also do, it can put more pressure on him. And now because he's angry, he starts what I was just talking about. He starts loading up. He starts fighting with emotions. And then it's, of course, going to always play in the favor of the opponent. Because once they start loading up their punches, a millisecond for a professional fighter is enough to pop a strike in there. Like I said, normally you punch from here, poof. And if you're angry, you're doing this. You're loading up because you really want to knock him out. And that little load up, that could be the problem already in the fight, that you might get knocked out. So I love it when fighters are getting angry, and I would do that as well before, but I do it very, very lightly. I would say they would interview me. They said, hey, what do you think of your opponent? I say, he's great. He's really great. I'm just, better in every area, but he's really good. So I would... But I would see how I would say it. I wouldn't say I'm just better in every area. I would just mumble it a little bit away. But I guarantee you, your opponent, that's the only thing he hears. And if he hears that, he says, what did he say? Did he say that? And they're going to start rewinding. Oh, he freaking said that? No, please get angry, because I want you to be angry, because this is where you, again, lose control. This is where you get tired faster. This is where you start loading up. So fighting with emotions, again, try to stay away from it. Then again, as I mentioned, there are some guys who really need it, like Vanderlei Silva, right? He fights on anger and he freaking lands. And is it beautiful? No, but precise? Oh yeah, he always finds a target, and he knows how to freaking hit and connect. And especially in the clinch, very scary guy, you see. So for him, the anger works. But I think for 95% of the fighters, it's better to stay away from it.
I think what's good for Sean in this situation is he's got quite a long time to, well, not long, but he's got a while to sort of relax before the fight next year. And then he's obviously got the excellent Eric Nixick in his corner, who can not only strategize, but sort of like, speak to him about calming down. And, there'll be quite a bit of time between now and when they actually fight. Who do you think wins that one, by the way, between Sean and Dricus?
Yeah, that's so hard because Adesanya, I thought Adesanya was going to take it, right?
Yeah.
So like everybody, Sean is one of those guys who is not a fluent striker, but he fights. His style is a little different than you're used to, and he has got real good power, and he knows that, and he's got a good aim. So once you have that, and wait, I'm the title holder. That means it's a 5-round fight. I got 25 minutes. I just take my time because he knows that if he lands a shot, that could be the end. So it's it's good for him, I guess. Then but yeah, it's all about how they control the nerves. That's the whole thing. But yeah, I didn't know where I was going to go with this. No, I lost it.
That's all right. Happens to me all the time.
Yeah, I just get back
because I was going to say, yeah, all good, man. And I was going to say that, like, it's a weird fight because Sean's style is a little bit unorthodox, right? Like the way that he approaches his striking, but he has really good takedown defense. But Dricus is another guy that's in there that when you watch him maybe on replay, you go, okay, I'm going to go in there, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. But then once he's in there with people, his style is also a little bit unpredictable and hard to read. So you kind of have these two guys going in there that it's going to be a very fascinating kind of matchup, and also very interesting to see how it plays out because there's so many strange areas that they meet in this one.
And again, it's all about what happens just before the big brawl starts. Like, and I mean in the fight, during the fight, like what happened with Strickland and Adesanya. Suddenly he got hit really freaking hard in the first round. And if that happens to somebody, it's hard to just put that to the side and go back to the normal discipline, because now oh shit, if you're going to connect one more time like that could be the end of the fight, and then it's going to start getting in your head. And as well as I do, the Murphy's Law, right? What they say, if you're afraid of something to happen, trust me, it will happen. So that's why I was always amazed, still am, with those K1 guys, the glory guys. Like a Peter Earth, he would get knocked out. And then 2 months later, he wins the whole freaking tournament again. Somehow these guys don't have a problem with that. Like if you look at boxing, kickboxing in general, and then in mixed martial arts, most of the time when a guy is reigning, and then he gets knocked out, most of the time his career starts to falter. Because then they realize, oh shit, I'm human. But the K1 guys don't have that. I have no clue how that's even possible. They just, it's part of the game, whatever, it won't happen again. And they go out and then they win a whole tournament in one night, 3 opponents. You see, so if everybody could fight like that, then they're always dangerous. So that's why it's always hard for a fighter if you never, like Mike Tyson, you saw with Mike, but suddenly he gets knocked out. Oh, now both feet are on the planet. You're human. Okay, now let's see what it's going to go. Oh, then it happened again. Oh, now it's going to be hard to come out of the hole again because it's going to start getting inside your head. And once you can push it away, and I just talked to somebody else about what fighting is. Fighting is, if you get fight in a dojo, it doesn't mean anything. Can you do the same performance under pressure? That's the trick. So you can be 100 sparring matches in 1 month, and for years doesn't mean anything. Can you do it under pressure? And that's when you get really good. Once you start fighting like you fight in the dojo, where it's a nice and safe environment, you're completely relaxed, now you're up to something. And for most fighters, and that was including me, it takes a bunch of fights. If you look at my Thai boxing matches, I think from the 9 knockouts to the first round, it was all me. Every picture was like this. It was like to kill the freaking guy. I wasn't in control. That control somehow came in Japan suddenly with the quiet audience and the 30-minute fights and the no weight classes. I think it got in my head. And I said, you know what? I'm going to tone down a little bit, because if I unload on this guy for a minute and he doesn't go down, I got 29 more minutes to go. That's going to be a problem. And somehow that brought me into the zone. And suddenly I heard everybody. I heard his corner. It was the most amazing thing that happened to me. I was literally, while I'm fighting, I'm thinking, what is going on? It was so cool. And that's when I suddenly brought the game from the dojo. I brought it into the ring. And then I realized, okay, I'm going to be okay now, because that's the moment that you realize, okay, I can actually do something. Well, that came a little bit later. Because I started losing by submission, of course. After the first 2 knockouts, they took me down, got me in the submission, second submission. And then the third submission, that's when I got angry. I said, okay, I don't like this. I don't like losing. I'm a very bad loser. So I'm going to have to learn the game. And once I started focusing on grappling, I fell in love with it. Suddenly I realized the possibilities. They're endless. It's the game you never master. And I posted, and we talked about this many times. I would wake up my wife because I would dream a submission. We went through all this. But it was really like that. And because I fell in love with it, I just started doing it a lot. And once you do something a lot, well, you get good at it. And then I never lost a fight anymore, you see. So, and everybody can do the same. They just have to do it. And that's the thing, because most of the time we stay in the discipline that we like the most. Because if I'm sparring and I'm beating people up in the gym, that's kind of a good feeling. And if I get beat the whole time on the ground, not so much. For me, it was the other way around. If somebody would submit me, I go, oh, I'm going to get him back. So then I always thought that my submission level was here. And then I went to Japan one day and I started rolling with the Americans, which I thought they were here. And I was here. But I had only one sparring partner, so I had no clue how good I was. And I never tried it out because, your mind kind of holds you back because you don't want to take any risks. But then after the workout session where I rolled with everybody, that I remember till this day. I came home and I told my wife, I said, I think I can be a world champion of this. She said, what do you mean? I go, I just beat these guys. I thought they were going to destroy me, and it wasn't at all. And that gave me a big confidence boost. And yeah, that was the last time I lost. I never lost a fight anymore. You see, but that's like the 4-minute mile, right? Couldn't be broken, couldn't be broken, couldn't be broken. One guy breaks it, the next week 5 other people break it. It's we put these mental barriers on ourselves that we think it's not possible. And then when somebody does it, oh, it is possible. And then suddenly you can do it as well. So the trick is not to have those mental barriers, of course, which is very easy to say, but very hard to do. But most of the time, thankfully for me, I figured it out in training that I was much better than I thought I was.
100%, man. And I mean, nobody ends their career on, what was it, like a 21 fight undefeated win streak? Just insane. But it just shows like your dedication to sort of changing your game and going through that humbling process of like, all right, I'm a great striker. I'm going to do something that I'm maybe not the greatest at. And then, look at what you achieved. We'll let you go soon, Bas. Appreciate the time. But just before, because we're talking obviously about middleweight, I wanted to ask you, looking ahead at 2024, who do you think ends the year as middleweight champion? Because like, if we're having a bit of fun and guessing, because I don't think anybody expected Sean Strickland to end 2023 as champion. I think no one predicted that, right? And then he's going up against Dricus. Dricus is like, a massive, massive contender in the sense that he could very well take that title. You never know when Israel will decide to sort of come back as well. You've also got, Jared Cannonier is always up there. And then Hamzat's kind of like the big wild card. People wonder if he can finally win the big one, because it looks like he's sort of primed to get a title shot, probably in his next fight. Who do you think will sort of come out on top? And do you think Hamzat can win the belt in 2024?
Well, Israel is one of these guys who can always come back and just put crazy on performances again. He did it before, so let's see what he's going to do right now. So he's still in the game. Robert Whittaker, he's always been a freaking animal. That's a guy that everybody always goes, yeah, but he was the champion. It's very hard to get back, but he's one of those guys that has still everything that he needs to have, and he might, God knows, he suddenly starts shining. It's hard, man. It's hard to say in this day and age. It's all about who can come up with a different setup. That's just what I always say. It's like we talked about Strickland. He fights a little different, but because of that, he's a very powerful guy. Who can find out how to land a cross? Well, if you find a setup to land a cross, and that setup has never been seen by your opponent before, you might land and you might knock him out. That's the same with submissions. I always talk about simple. If somebody lays on his back and you just sit on the mount, you go for a straight armbar. Everybody knows that you can do it. But if you are on top and you find a different way, a different distraction to go to that same armbar, and in a way that person never saw even in training, well, you're going to be effective with it. So it's all about these guys who can do something that the other person never saw before, but then they're going to have to make it perfect because it's one shot, of course. They're going to have to nail it and get it. And that's why it's so hard to say this guy is going to be on the foot. Like Nurmagomedov, I mean, that's unheard of. A guy with a record like that, if you really think about it. And he fought the top people in the world, and he still kept beating everybody. And I think it's also a big part that he's not on social media being crazy, and he's in a completely different country where they think different. Here, a lot of these fighters, believe it or not, have a really thin skin, right? I mean, if somebody says something bad or a fan says something bad, and that's the same with me, because, we're prideful guys. We have that. Now, well, today with the social media and all the stuff that happens around it, you're going to be affected by it. But how is it going to affect you? Now, if it's going to affect you, give you a lot of anger, and you use it in training, perfect. But once you carry that on to the fight, that's going to be a problem. So, again, I think it's the person who can stay the cool as a cucumber and can actually find different setups to either submissions or knockouts to punches that is going to win it. But I know that's not the answer you want to hear, but that's not.
No, that's all right.
And I think also health as well, right? Health plays a huge factor these days. Like Hamzat was supposed to fight Sean, now he's out. Dricus is in, but then don't forget, like Robert Whittaker took that Dricus fight, and then it was supposed to be Dricus and Israel, but that turnaround was too short, so that was Israel and Sean. So it's literally how healthy can you stay in between these fights to stay available. Gotta quickly get your thoughts on this one, man, before we wrap up, Bas. Alex Pereira. This guy right here came in, unbelievable kickboxer. He won the title in middleweight. Now he's the champion at light heavyweight. And people are saying, what does 2024 hold for Alex Pereira? I heard an interview with Tom Aspinall, who was another standout of 2023. And he said that he felt like Alex Pereira was sizing him up last time that they saw each other. And I know we always talk about, can he be the guy that went to middleweight, won the title, light heavyweight, won the title, and then do it at heavyweight? What do you think? Do you think that's a possibility for someone like Alex Pereira? And what do you think about the remarkable achievements that he's had this past year?
Well, look at how he got the title first from Adesanya. This guy was a kickboxer who comes in and just does that. That's already remarkable. This guy also, if you stand next to him, he's the biggest guy you've ever seen.
Yeah, he was at a karate combat with you.
Yeah, he's gigantic. So that answers your question next. Yes, he can do it in everything. He can also do it in heavyweight. Imagine him versus Jon Jones. How badass fight that will be. The thing is, though, Jones is he's a very smart guy. He's very methodical in everything he does. And he will not let his ego rule his actions. And I'm trying to say that if they tell Jon Jones, oh, you should not strike with him. You should not strike with him because he's way too good of a striker. Normal fighters, they're going to strike with him because they want to prove to everybody that it's a better striker. Why would you take the risk? Well, against a guy like Pereira, I mean, he connects, the fight is over. So if I was Pereira, so Jon Jones, if he fought Pereira, 100% is going to go for takedowns. 100%. And that's the only person now, I would think, not Jon Jones, but a person with really great wrestling skills who can put him on his back. I think that will be his Achilles heel for now. But he's training every day. He's an incredible athlete, so he's picking up and he's going really fast. Now, can you catch that up? I tried it, but against like freaking Kevin Randleman, yeah, you have no chance against wrestlers like that. I can practice whatever I want for a year straight, but these guys have been doing it since they were 6 years old. You're not going to stop him. But a really great wrestler with powerful hands, great ground and pound, that will be maybe a problem for now. Only for now, for Pereira. We talk 6 months ahead from now, that's going to be different. Because like everybody says, the wrestling is, they say the cage is different than regular wrestling, of course. It's a different distance as well because there's still striking involved. But for me, that will be the only way, if somebody beats Pereira, is to put him on his back because that's where it's not been tested too much.
Yeah, man. Well, you mentioned this guy's name. So before we wrap up, actually, I want to bring this up with you as well. Jon Jones, he's an interesting one. We thought he was going to fight Stipe. That didn't happen. We saw the injury. It was really sad. Now, for 2024, just this one's got a couple of points to it. Number one, do you want to see this Stipe fight? Because I think a lot of people are like, we love Stipe. He's one of the greatest of all time. But maybe the time for this has kind of moved past because we've got Tom Aspinall, right? Unbelievable interim champion, and people are saying maybe this is the guy that can get the job done. And people are kind of hoping maybe Jon Jones can fight him. What is your take? Do you think we see Jon Jones come back in 2024? And if so, do you think he sticks around long enough to fight Tom Aspinall, or do you think this could be kind of like the farewell fight that a lot of people are saying it could be?
Yeah, I think that Jon Jones, if he stays what he's doing, he's just, to me, he's the GOAT. I think that he's so good everywhere. He's got no patterns, no habits. He does everything is changes all the time. He will not have the same attack the whole time, only when he uses it to set you up. So it's all methodical. And a guy like that who's good on his feet and is good on the ground and he's got great wrestling, so he can dictate where the fight's going to go. They're very hard to beat. But then you see Aspinall, he's a freaking animal, And yes, we saw it all the way back. What's his name from Sweden?
Gustafsson,
right? That was a very close fight. Some people even thought that Gustafsson might have won that, So that was, and Aspinall is one of those guys who's just really good striking. But, Jones loads it up in the computer, and he probably learned from Gustafsson fight. He says, he's a great striker. Let's go for the ground now. He won't never take that risk anymore. And that makes him even more dangerous because now you can't influence him with emotions. So to say, you can't make him angry, or you don't have the balls to stand with me. He's going to go, yeah, whatever, dude. It doesn't matter if I do have the balls or not. I'm just going to win the fight. I had some fighters in the past also who were like, unbelievable. Benji Radek, he was one of those guys who hit the hardest. That was an unbelievable guy. And then he fought another striker. I go, why don't you take him down? I mean, I've seen him wrestle with the best guys out there, and he would put everybody on his back. And then one time he did it. That was against Murillo Ninja. Took him down, one punch, boof, out. I go, why don't you do that with a really great striker? Yeah, but people want to see a strike, boss. I go, don't fight for the people. They're going to forget you if you lose 3 fights in a row. Just stick with the game plan. But he always felt that challenge and he had the answer to it. Jones doesn't have that. He just wants to win, and it's not the guy who wants to win by not losing, so it becomes boring. He's always exciting as well. And that's a scary guy. So I would love to see him against Aspinall. I think that could be a really good fight because Tom Aspinall is incredible. Came out of nowhere suddenly, right? Boom. Mm. And look how he fights. He's so relaxed, so calm. Yeah, I really like him.
I hope they fight. I think it's unlikely, but I hope they fight. As we let you go, Bas, obviously Christmas around the corner. O2 Trainer makes a fantastic gift for everybody, no matter the age. You got Karate Combat. What else is coming up for you in 2024?
Oh, Karate Combat, yes. We're going to have a whole bunch of shows. We're going to go overseas. I don't think I can say where yet, but it's going to be freaking awesome. So that's going to be cool. And then, of course, the O2 Trainer. And I do public speaking things. I really enjoy doing that, talking to men or boys who want to become men, and tell them that all the things that I used to do was the opposite of being a man. I think coming from me, that could maybe have some impact. And if you only save 1 or 2 guys from being that stupid and start drinking and doing drugs, job well done, you see. But hopefully we can influence some more people. And that's it. I'm going to start with another podcast that's going to come out, Planet Bas. It's right now. It's on Muscle and Fitness platform, but I also post them like 2 weeks later on my own channel. But I just did a big show with Guga Foods from Miami.
Oh, I love Guga. Did you have a steak with him?
Dude, we did, and we had a cook-off because, people don't know I used to be a chef. So we did a cook-off with each other. I showed him some of my recipes that we like. We have a fight scene. He just showed me things. It's hilarious. But people don't know from Guga, he used to be part of like this demonstration team in Taekwondo. And then you got to go, yeah, right. Yeah. Dude, I've seen pictures where he stands in the splits with his head in the middle. With his leg more, and when we were fighting, he's got some reflexes, dude. And the last part, I asked him, he's one moment he throws a jumping back kick to the body, and I said, just connect. He says, what do you mean? I said, I'd rather have you hit me hard than soft. And then the last one, he sent me flying. So it was
wow. He's like a Scott Coker. You wouldn't know, but he's got a history.
That's it, but by the way, his mind, like what you get, he's the cook. No, he's not the cook. He's doing the editing. He's doing the filming. He's doing, you said there, this is amazing. This guy, I was blown away. Wow. I came home to my wife. I go, man, this guy he runs the whole show. It's really amazing. And seeing a person like that, I go, and then with the food, and I also will still do interviews, and I will still do, of course, martial arts as well. But I'm going to add some food in it as well. Everybody's barbecuing here. And I thought, this is a great time for me to pull out the French cuisine and to start doing that and combining it with American barbecue, making the nice sauces they get from the French cuisine and apply those to steaks I think it's going to be a fun thing to do. So that's where I'm focusing on right now. Once that episode comes out, that's when it's going to start. And I think it's the first week of January.
I love that, man. Maybe a potential cooking with Volk. You guys collaborating on an
episode.
I'm so happy. I saw him at Karate Combat, but I couldn't go to him, and he was already gone when the show was over. But then thankfully, he was saying the same line where the fight Strickland brought out. So I had the chance of going really fast over to him and tell him what a freaking animal that guy is. Because I go, dude, you're one of my favorite guys. I just want you to know this. Of course, he loved it. And I got some props. So it's I like him also because the way he acts outside of fighting, like you said, with the cooking, and he's a funny guy, has just having a good time. And I think that's what life is all about, you know. The fighting is too serious already. Let's do that. And the rest, let's have fun. And that's one of those guys.
Yeah, he's a local legend, and it's so good. He had another great year, so congratulations to him. Just finally, can we start a petition to get Bas Rutten into Grand Theft Auto 6? Can we do this?
Yeah.
Anyone online watching right now, let's get this petition going. We need the big man in the game. It's
the return of the men's room.
It's so funny, right? That TV show, the GTA 4, the men's room show that I have on TV. It's hilarious. I think I still till this day always say it's one of my best works. I think because I was a complete psychopath. You know, it was so much fun to shoot, but I had to send everybody out of the studio the whole time because they were messing up my takes because they started laughing. I go, dude, it needs to come unnatural, you know, because once I rehearse it too much, it's not going to be as fun. So move, let me do this thing and go crazy. So yeah, I wish I could go back into that game again. That was awesome.
Yeah, man. If anyone needs a laugh, just Google Bas Rutten GTA 4, the men's room. With you and that Jeremy guy, and it's good, man. They're like mini episodes. They're fucking hilarious. But anyway, at Bas Rutten MMA is where you follow, obviously, Bas for all the good stuff. I can't wait to see you and Guga and all the stuff that you guys did together. O2 trainer, fantastic gift for anybody regarding your breathing and improving your overall health. Karate Combat in 2024. You're doing a bunch of stuff, man. A lot of love, and thank you so much for jumping on with us. Always love chatting with you, Bas.
You're very welcome. And go on my YouTube channel now. And there's a thing, How to Get Mentally Strong. And this is where I talk about what I just talked with you guys. And people seem to really enjoy it. So I'm going to keep on that track a little bit as well. See if we can make people not as crazy as I was when I was in the midst of my career.
Help the future generations. Thank you so much, Bas, man. Always love chatting with you. A lot of love. And we'll do it again soon, hopefully.
Have a great Christmas, man. Thank you so much.
Next year, I guess.
Yeah, that's it.
All right.
Take care, man.
Thanks, Bas. See ya.